Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews, and today we're looking at Fairy Tail, Chapter 500, Fire and Ice. So the chapter really is mainly of two components, fire and ice, fire being Natsu, ice being Grey. It does have quite a bit of detail to it, so I've broken them down into two separate segments, so this will cover basically 4 of the 5 points today. There's also a fifth point, which is like the elephant in the room for this chapter for a lot of the readers of Fairy Tail, so we will get into that. But before anything else, I just want to apologise. The previous video that I did, Nanatsu no Taizai 7 Deadly Sins, had some audio difficulties pre-rendering. Unfortunately, due to my schedule today and because of other things I was doing in my personal life, unfortunately wasn't able to fix that, and the video has come out with a few jittering parts. 90% of it is fine, so apologies in advance for those that haven't watched it. Please still watch it and give me your thoughts in the comment section below, and with this one hopefully we'll fix that. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the review. So point number 1, we get to see the reasoning behind Brandish and Natsu's situation. A colour spread I might add, which actually looked kind of cool. So it's interesting, this one, because we see Brandish's thoughts, I guess. She basically says, look, at the end of the day, I don't see you as my enemy, but I'm not going to betray Alvarez. That is her family, I guess. Also, someone that's overlooking this is Di Maria, who's actually quite close to Brandish, who immediately thinks she's the enemy and that she's betrayed them, which will add something to next chapter, which is kind of labelled and named after them, Maria versus Brandish. Mari and Brandy, basically. Anyway, so we find out that, look, she goes, look, we could have destroyed you on that previous island if all 12 of us turned up. Please just give up, and look, your friends are pretty much gonna die. Obviously, Natsu doesn't take too kindly to this. So we get to see the fights. We see Agil versus Lisana and Elfman. They're struggling. We see Jacob versus Mirani, struggling. We get to see Wal versus Minerva, struggling. We get to see Bradman versus Rogue, who is also struggling. So you can imagine the thought process that she's going through, and she makes a good point that, it's not going to be easy for you lot. There's not much of a chance that you're going to win. But Natsu does not care. That's point number 1. So, point number 2, a continuation from that point. This kind of conversation is interrupted by Nineheart, who looks juiced up to the gills with power because he's been powered up, his eyes are different, and this was on the back of what Lady Irene or Eileen or whatever you want to call her basically did. So essentially she's powered up Nineheart. I don't know if it's a mental type of hypnosis, but he's powered her up, and she's powered him up, I should say, and basically he's probably drunk on the power. So he comes to that point and he goes, where's Erza, and what are you doing? And she basically says, Brandish says, look, leave these with me, I'm negotiating here. Obviously Nineheart doesn't take kindly to that, and he goes, these lot are the enemy, you have betrayed us. To which point Brandish realizes how powerful Nineheart has become, and by extension his spells, as in Bradman and Wally, have basically become more powerful, which explains why Minerva and Rogue are struggling. Now, Brandish can't compare to him. She realizes this very early as he sets up this whirlwind type of attack. Natsu does not care. He gets in there and he basically wipes the floor with Nineheart with a 1-2 combo. First punch pushes him back, step through, looks like a right or a left cross, I believe. I'm not sure based on the animation because it could be flipped because of the scanlation. And basically wipes him out. Much to Brandish's surprise, because she was like, what? Really? I did not expect this. I didn't think he was this powerful. This changes everything. And it leaves Lucy wondering what the whole Lady Erza situation was about. Are they royalty, maybe? Is there some type of kind of aristocrat system to them or something like that? It asks and begs the question, which basically means at some point we're going to find out in the next couple of chapters. But this is a brilliant way to show Natsu's power in comparison to the other Spriggan. He's stronger than a juiced up Nineheart. He's probably stronger than a Brandish as well. More than likely stronger than Di Maria. But that's point number 2. Now, point number 3. Now that we've seen how amazing Natsu can be, bearing in mind he's probably not gone all out, we now get to see how amazing Grey is. So naturally, Invel, expecting him to be dead, is surprised, thinking, why are you alive? He gets cracked in the face, pushed back, which forces Invel to unleash his trump card, his ultimate ability, which I've written this down, so I'm going to just read this out. It's called the Ice Rendering, or the Ice Rendering Divine Rament, or Raiment, I don't know how you pronounce that, but it's meant to be the ultimate attack for him, an armor that when people see it, regardless of what they do, they are frozen. So Grey does not give a shit. He basically wants to break him into pieces, and he goes in for the kill. At first he looks like he's struggling, his body is freezing, but then what he does is he actually, using his demon ability, bearing in mind this is meant to be like a it's not royal armor, it's more, or blessed armor, it's basically like demon armor, so to speak, and demon magic, demon armor, it kind of works hand in hand. He absorbs that and manipulates that to become his own attack, and he hits him with another attack, which I'm just gonna have to read. It's the Devil Zeroth Destruction Fist. So he absorbs the armor, more than likely he's probably gonna take up the armor, that's basically gonna be his ability, and he basically takes out Invel, taking him out for the count. So that puts ourselves in a good position, ourselves being Fairy Tail, which leads me on to point number 5, and then I'll speculate at the end of point number 5, or point number 4 I should say. Point number 4, the truth. Essentially, Invel's down, he's out for the count, he's barely kind of conscious, blood splattering everywhere, he's taking fatal damage basically. And you get the whole point about, he's talking about how he's the only one that can defeat END, and if you look at his life, all the bad things that have happened to him are because of END, which isn't the case, because I don't see how the correlation happens anyway really, because that happened 400 years ago, and you know, END or Natsu has basically done nothing to Grey's family or anything like that. It's been everything else, the darkness that's in the world, the following of Zeref and everything like that. But Invel's clever in his words because of the situation, or the, you know, the feelings that Grey has towards his darkness, END being the person he has to destroy. He just will listen to anything at this point, because it's the psychological, or the string of his heart that really affects him. So basically he tells him the truth. He goes, you want to know who END is? You don't even know who he is. I might as well tell you. The greatest and the most fiercest demon is somebody you already know. Natsu Dragneel is END, the Thorius Natsu Dragneel. This is the first time Natsu has heard this, and you remember how I said the reason why the separation was to create that, I guess, that drama, so to speak, a plot point for the future down the line. That's why it's there. So that's point number 4. It leaves us in a really big kind of a cliffhanger, I could say, for point number 4, and this is where point number 5 is going to be about the speculation and the elephant that's in the room. So, point number 5, the elephant that's in the room. Juvia is alive. Now, a lot of people are going to be crying, moaning, bitching, and saying, oh, nobody ever dies in Fairy Tail. People die in Fairy Tail, not the main characters. Now, this particular character, I'm not upset about at all. I wanted her to be alive, because this is important for Grey. I'll tell you why. Because Grey has had to go down to the point where he's had to use more Demon Slayer magic, he's blinded by his rage, his emotions, he's given into his darkness. He's basically changing as a character, and one of the things that took him over the tipping point was the dying of Juvia. He knows he can't bring her back. He doesn't know she's alive though. So here's the thing. The battle between Natsu and Grey will happen at some point. If it happens straight away, there needs to be a balance to the character, and the balance for Grey is Juvia. For all the bad that he's getting himself involved into, the darkness, there needs to be that good in his life that makes it okay, that balances him out as a character, and that's why we need Juvia to be alive. So for her to be alive is actually a brilliant point. Now, with that out of the way, people are going to complain, but you know what, it's a manga. Why are you so caught up on a little insignificant point? People die, people survive. If I was writing a story and I had favourite characters, I wouldn't want them to die. So you need to understand the story's point of view. There will be a purpose behind this. Let that purpose be shown before passing judgment, and we might get somewhere. But that's just a little bit of a rant. Let's get to what's going on overall in the story now. So remember how we had a breakdown and we basically said, okay, these characters are fine, these characters are struggling. Let's see what's happened to the Spriggan 12 on the back of this. I made some notes, so bear with me. Now let's talk about the characters that are basically done now. So you've got God Serena taken care of, right? Bradman, Walicht, were basically reincarnations or spells based on Nine Hearts magic. Nine Hearts has been taken care of, which means Bradman and Wal-Ich is basically more than likely taken care of. So that's 4 of the Spriggan 12 that have been taken care of. Then done, dusted, should be out of the way. Now, this frees up Minerva. This also frees up Rogue to help out. What's still ongoing? Other members that are fighting now. We've got Agil that's fighting, and we've also got Jacob that's fighting. So that really needs tying up as soon as possible, and that's probably something we're going to see in the next couple of chapters. Now, Brandish and Di Maria are together now, although haven't really directly met. They're in the same area, and that is what the title of the next chapter is. So what that ultimately means is that conflict is really going to get resolved probably in the next chapter, which is a good thing because we want to move on to other things. So for me, at this point, we need to sort out the situation with Agil and Jacob, and we need to sort the situation out with Brandish and Di Maria in the next couple of chapters. If you take them out of the equation, there's only 4 members of the Spriggan that are left. Invel, who's basically got his ass kicked right now, who's barely hanging on for life. How Great deals with him, I don't know whether he's going to kill him or not, but he should get him out of the picture. That's important because you've got to bear in mind that also gets rid of the spell that's on Mavis. That takes out of the equation. We only really have 3 plus Zeref to deal with. We have Eileen, who's basically currently with Mavis. August, we've not really heard of for a while. I don't know what he's up to. And Larcade Gajil, who's the Larcade Dragneel, who's the other Dragneel that's got some type of light or anti-white magic. Is he like the Edolas Zeref? We don't know, but it's interesting. Anyway, those are the people we've got to deal with way before Actologia and way before this war can end. Plus we've got all this big army of people that need dealing with as well. So there's a lot of stuff still left to be told in this arc specifically before we can deal with anything else. With Actologia taken out of the picture, it may well be another arc before we deal with him. But ultimately there's still a lot to go. People are going to still bitch, but there's a lot still that left unanswered, and we need to find out what this Erza Eileen situation is all about as well. Currently Erza is tied up dealing with the masses, with the rest of Fairy Tail. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that, but hopefully the Eileen situation with Erza, the Agil Jacob Alessio situation, Brandish and Di Maria situation is sorting out. Once that's sorted out, we can see what's going to happen with the ultimate clash between Grey and END. Loads of stuff to look forward to. An interesting chapter. People are not going to be happy completely with it, but it's still Fairy Tail for me. Hope you enjoyed the chapter. Hope you enjoyed the review. As always, let me know in the comment section below what you thought. And as always, please subscribe. I greatly appreciate that. And I'll see you next time. Peace.